Okay, welcome back to the Jiu Jitsu Mindset. Oh my God, this week I get to talk to one of my favorite human beings in the world. Somebody's become such a great friend of mine over the years. Before I get to introduce him, hey, our app, My Jiu Jitsu Journey, is adding a weight loss component to it. So if you're looking to hit your walking around weight or you're training for a tournament and you got to hit your fight weight, that's in there now. So My Jiu Jitsu Journey, wherever you get your apps, please join the community. It's a clean community. It's just us, no advertising, which means there's a little fee every month, less than your coffee intake, I'm quite sure, but just so you're not surprised. And then on the submission coffee front, Coach Darian Coban has got a gracious heart, and although I advised him against this, he's willing to open up the wholesale program. So if you're a gym owner and you want to carry submission program, we got a way for you to add some business to your business. So just reach out and contact me wherever you might want to contact me. Okay, Professor Jason Hawkins, you and I, I've been so grateful to have found you along the way.
Oh man, me too, me too. We can thank Elon Knight for that.
That's right, Eli Knight. Thank you, Professor Eli. That's true. That's true. It's a long
Yeah,
time ago now.
yeah.
You and I have a lot of really identical interests, and I love that. And the notion of living a life examined, taking that examination, try to turn it into something useful that we then share with the people who are at least interested in listening, I think is something that we're both interested in.
Mhm.
And today, I want to talk to you about change, initiation, how present is it in our current life and culture? How does a person prepare for these things when they can? And we'll see where it goes from there. But at a fundamental level, like when we talk about initiation, we're talking about someone coming through something and being different on the other side.
Mhm.
So perhaps we could start with, how do you think people change? How does a person make a change?
Well, I mean, I don't. I guess we'll use the term suffering. We'll start with it,
Yeah.
and that alchemical idea of
Yes.
of of transmutating or
Yes.
transforming suffering into consciousness.
Yes.
We'll
Yes.
say, from that lead, that heaviness, into gold, the
Yes.
lightness, and it has more conductive principles, and of course it's
Right.
beautiful to look at, and so this transformation from a heaviness to a lightness is this
Yes.
enlightenment, right,
Right.
that we're going through. And I think I had a real quick, I'll tell a story. I had a friend that was a marathon runner, is one of my brown belts, and he had bad knees.
Hmm.
He still wanted to do it. He was running this marathon. He was telling me, he says, my knee messes up. He said, about halfway through this thing, and I'm just so disappointed. Like, and he said, I sit down and he said, I'm by myself at this point. I'm away from the crowd. And I sit down the sidewalk, and he said, I look down and this girl is running my way, right? And she's got a t-shirt on. He says, she gets a little closer. The front of the shirt said, pain is inevitable on the front of it. And he was like, wow. And she went past me, and on the back of the shirt, it said, suffering is optional.
Hmm. How nice.
So I thought, man, what a great shirt, first of all.
Yeah.
That's a neat idea,
Right.
right? But he said it was perfect. I said, what did you do? And he said, I got up and finished the race.
Right. Wow.
And I said, okay, so how we perceive that suffering.
Right.
So I, I told you earlier, I've been reading through the Yoga Sutras again.
Right.
And one of the way those are set up are these short aphorisms. They're little short sayings. And then there'll be a commentary,
Yes.
right? Those are called Baisha. And then there's something called Tika, and Tika are commentaries on the commentary, right?
Right. Yeah.
As
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
goes down. But you have to have the commentary. You can't read that little aphorism and get everything. That's the point, right? It's to
Right.
make you talk, make you discuss with your
Very good.
students or between friends, and you build this up. And so you at the very beginning of this, it says now begins the practice of yoga. And so one of the teachers I studied with, that Sanskrit word for now packs a punch.
Hmm.
Now, the word now.
Yes.
And it's sort of like, I'm probably going to do a poor job at explaining this, but sort of like, okay, we've you've done all this other stuff. Now get serious.
Hmm.
And I think this is the point of initiation. So the way that this commentary put it, and I thought it was interesting because this is an old commentary, right?
Yeah,
And I'll
thousands of
have to look
years.
at this real quick. I want to make sure I get this right. But he said, when surface level suffering
Right.
has gotten to the point that it's not alleviated by ordinary means. And ordinary means, he said, money,
Mm.
right? Any kind of distraction or a therapy. So
Right.
money, he said, money, exercise, and therapy.
Right. Right.
If those don't cure the suffering,
Right.
then someone is left to ask why,
Yes.
and then they may become a yogi. So we've come to that point maybe in our lives that we've been able to distract ourselves to a certain point, but now the it's not cutting it,
Yes.
whatever we're doing. And so we're going to have to go deeper. We're going to have to get to the root of what's happening here, you know.
Yeah.
And so
And
maybe the suffering
y-
drives it.
yeah, tell me like let's agree to either track along this line or to agree not to track along this line.
Okay.
Well, when we're talking about change, I think we live in um like habits, right? Like okay, 1% better each day type of stuff. And um I want to my opinion is we're distinguishing something that is about shaping a behavior. It's not about if you do this repetitive task, you're going to have a different relationship to the world. And instead, I want you to tell me what your reaction to this. We're talking about transformation. When we talk about change here,
Hmm.
in that you were water and now you're vapor. You were
Hmm.
ice and now
Hmm.
you're water.
Hmm.
So when we talk about change, I'm not saying that you're getting up at 6 and you lose 25 pounds as to me, this is in the land of therapy, those
Hmm.
type of changes
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
But when we talk about change, I'm hearing that we're getting down to the fundamental nature of who we
Yeah.
are,
Yes.
because I don't think you want to exit the world with the same tools you came into the world here. You
Right.
need to mature. I'm always interested in that road from being a boy to
Hmm.
being a man, the phases a man goes through because he
Hmm.
changes his relationship to his family and the world over time. So is that fair? Like when we
Yeah.
talk about change, we're talking about transformation.
Yeah, that physical transformation would precede it, right?
Hmm.
And start moving. But ultimately, what I think you're saying and what we're talking about is something intangible that needs to change. And that
Yes.
can be the frustrate that can be the part that stumps everybody.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people think that's not possible.
Yeah, I
Like, how do
agree.
I touch the intangible? And so I had a teacher tell me once that everything, he really emphasized, he hit the word every, he said, everything is a skill.
Right. Okay.
You can change anything. Like you
Right.
just have to, but what teachers, when we have these teachers that help initiate us,
Yes.
can help guide us through that process of touching something intangible. But I do think we have to have that something, that anchor at the beginning that may be physical
Right.
to get us on the path, right?
Yes,
That's,
yes,
that's
yes. Right.
changing
You
us.
need to
But
start.
like you said, ultimately we can lose the weight, we can do all this stuff, and then there's still a void.
Yes.
There's still something here that's not. It's just it's a fly in the ointment. You know, like I really can't tell what it is. There was a line in the movie The Matrix that when I think Neo and Morpheus are talking, and he kind of explains he's there's something you can't identify. I forget the words that he used in your mind, like
Right.
there's a bit of a thorn in there, and you just can't quite get at it. You
Yes.
know, what do I do now? Right? Something needs to
Right.
change. You know,
And to me,
and
there's an intent, like there's an aspect of intention. Like if,
mhm,
you know, like just for weight loss, right?
mhm,
Where we might start, well, why am I doing this? Because I have an aesthetic desire to look different.
mhm,
Okay, well, why do what's behind that? Well, I want to be healthy. Well, what's behind? I like to live longer
mhm,
okay, well, what's behind that? And at some level, that to me becomes the most mature and profound, like beginning to getting to the
mhm,
root of things. Like, well, I'm reorienting my relationship to the world via what I put in my body, and it's thoughtful and careful rather than,
mhm,
habitual and driven outside of the executive function of my
Right,
brain,
right.
which becomes a spiritual practice in my regard, and from my point of view. I don't know if you feel like that's a
Yeah,
little
it is.
dramatic,
It's a,
but
like you said. Well, no, because I think we're moving on a continuum from gross to subtle.
yes, yes,
So your practice will will demonstrate that, right? I'm moving from this, moving the body, training the body to do all this stuff to these things that are unseen happening within the body,
right.
and all these older traditions that use initiatory rites. And listen, I'm probably going to speak. I'm going to have to speak through this through the lens of the yogic
Yeah, yeah,
tradition because that's what I look at it through. I hope that doesn't confuse or anything, but it takes you on this continuum from gross. Like if you look at these older texts and these treatises, you move from what are called these eight limbs. You move from how you act in the world, your social duties, how you act when you're alone,
right.
how you handle your physical body. That moves, and now that you start to move to the interior,
Yes,
how does my breath move in and out, and how does that affect my psyche?
but yes,
Then the psyche itself, how do I withdraw that attention into the body? Then how do I hold that attention steady? How do I prolong that state? And then how do I exist in that state? Right.
yes, yeah,
And this is at eight limb progression from this gross me operating into the world. But I think it's important to know we don't leave any of that behind. I'm not like going into we're not going to the mountaintop. We're staying right here,
right.
but we're going inward ourselves. But listen, I'm still going to go to work tomorrow. I'm still going to deal with my family. And I think that integral type of yoga is important to us. I think it's already been done. People have gone to the jungle and they've gone to you and I joke about,
Yeah, yeah,
putting our diapers on and getting a stick and we're going to go out to the wood. And that's been done.
right,
And these psychonauts have come back and said, okay, here's what's going on.
right.
And you can still be a householder
Yes,
and go through these processes to a certain degree. Now you might not, you're obviously not going to achieve the level that if you go off by yourself and do it, but you have to be qualified to do that, right?
right.
You can't just I'm going to
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
It's like
yeah, right, right.
that's going to end disastrously for you. So there's a method, and that's why we need teachers, right? That's why you need guides and examples to go through. Like, oh man, don't take that right turn. You just keep going this way.
And
But
yeah,
yeah, that
that
gross to
that
subtle
yeah, and
is
to me I think of integration, right? Like
mm,
you have an integration that goes from your most obvious, if we use the term gross, relationship to the world, refined all the way back to your relationship and for the soul to
mm,
whatever, which then connects you back to the divine for
mm,
me. And as you know, like
mm.
I'm a ex-Catholic, so the divine, like pick whoever you
Pick
want
your
for
yeah,
that. Yeah,
right.
pick your label for that stuff.
Mm,
And so, but integration is hard. And as you say, in the course of
mm,
our life, we have all this stimuli coming in, some of which
mm,
is painful and
mm,
suffering. And it is a lack of integration, I think, that suffering can bend us the wrong way, hurt us,
mm,
produce a character that then is hurtful to the world.
mhm,
And so I'm curious, knowing that all of us suffer in some way, shape, or form, and integration is difficult to find that path on your own.
mhm,
What role does initiation play in becoming integrated? Because for me, initiation is something that's guided, which
mhm,
means there's another person there,
mhm,
which means in the absence of, like, for boys becoming men,
mhm.
this notion of like the second father presents himself and
Right.
gives you tools that first father cannot possibly give because of the tension between
Mhm,
father and son. And it doesn't have to be that way for boys. I think for women, it's a different set of relationships that can
mhm.
produce the initiation.
Yeah.
So, can you talk to me a little bit about like what is initiation and how does it happen? And then thirdly, does it happen anymore? Because we have before, 150 years ago,
Right.
Initiation was super common because we had
Yep.
to change you fast. We had to go
Yeah.
to be a man fast because you got to get to the farm, get to the
We need
war,
we need we need we need hands. We
we
need
need
them over
hands.
here.
Like, yeah, you can't be a boy anymore. You got to be a man, but we got to go fast. So we do
Yeah.
this right.
And
So yeah,
we're in a confusing place, right?
I
Because
think so.
that doesn't have to happen at any particular time, and we can have a 30-year-old person that's
Yes,
a 12-year-old,
right.
that's operating on that level, whatever. Of course, uh, Annie Besant had a interesting definition of yoga, was that it was the acceleration of the unfolding of consciousness.
Right. Okay.
Now, accelerated tells me, okay, you're doing something extra, you're going to move this along. However, if you don't do that thing, it's unfolding as well.
Yes.
These methods just accelerate it. So you can go on your merry way and life will unfold in front of you unconsciously. All
Right.
right. But that's probably going to be more painful,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
you change. So I think initiation, first of all, is us taking up you personally, you'll have to ask the question, right? You'll have to ask it yourself. That's what's painful to watch with some people, right?
Right.
And say, oh, okay, I'm wanting to do something different. And then recognizing what is going to help you do that. Now, for me being a martial arts instructor and coming up, I personally believe that these martial arts schools, if they're done correctly and
Yes.
with love and with intent, then these can be a modern mystery school, a modern initiatory
Yes.
school. Uh, if it's not done in a method to try to control someone, because listen, that's available.
Right. Sure.
You can dip your toe in that water. So you have to have conscious men that have been through it, and
Yes.
it has to be done by someone that's been through it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're really playing with fire, I think. So you go through this, and it can just be, Pete. I think we were talking earlier about how all these initiatory rites from the past, whatever culture it was from,
Right.
dealt with taking a person to a death experience,
Yes.
right? When you look at in yoga, they have what are called the afflictions
Yes. Yes.
that cascade from one another,
Mm-hmm.
and they all begin from ignorance, and each one kind of clouds you a little bit. And one of the last one is clinging to life. And the
Yeah.
comment that they make is this affects everyone, even the most wise, it says.
Yes.
This is the one that gets everybody. You can have very wise people that can avoid, that can get around desire.
Yes.
They can get around ignorance to a large degree, but the catch-all that traps everybody is clinging to life
Right.
as you get back. So these initiatory rites, by default, would have that as, okay, we've got to address this, right?
Right.
So taking a person in a certain way up to that point,
Right.
where at least the body sends the message that, hey, this is about to be over, that causes a certain amount of clarity. And we hear this all the time, people having NDEs, these near death experiences, and they come
Yeah.
back and they're just like, oh man, my view of the world is absolutely
It's
different.
different, right?
Yeah, things that used to bother me don't bother me or whatever. So this is kind of a way, a organized way, and hopefully safe enough the person survives it, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
That you take them up to it. And this was done in the past. All these cultures had it, and the mechanism for that, interestingly enough, right? Okay, and it mainly for males we're talking about,
Yeah. I agree.
because females nature initiates them,
Yes.
right?
Right. There's something
Yeah,
that happens to them.
blood is
Yes.
drawn, yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah.
early, and they get, hey man, I'm not in control.
Yeah.
However, a male doesn't,
It has to be
so
imposed.
another male has to draw blood
Yes.
from him, and he has to realize, okay, I'm not in charge,
Right.
to take
Yeah.
somebody from that. So we have to have these males around us. Now, I think they have to be taken to that point, and then compassion has to happen, and you bring them back. Otherwise, we're just talking about abuse, just
Yeah. Right.
abusing.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, kids that get abused would be enlightened,
Yes. Right.
right?
Yeah. They'd be the wisest among
They'd
us.
be the
Right.
wisest among us. But
Right.
it's that you have to complete it. It's the death, burial, and the resurrection.
That, yeah, and that you're gonna say that, and I think, I hope that people that listen follow what you're saying, because the death, burial, and resurrection experience is happening all day,
all the
every day,
every
right?
day.
Like
You're not aware of it. Yeah.
exactly. You and I are having a conversation, and by the time I'm to this sentence, that time has passed. That moment has died. We buried it, and now we're in the
Yeah.
new moment.
Right.
And right, and that so that
Yeah.
in the most subtle of ways. But this distinction between things happening to you that cause you to suffer and a conscious roadmap, because those cultures that did those initiations weren't doing them willy-nilly. Over
No.
time, they had been refined into, we're going to put this young person through these experiences, and at the end, they will have been initiated and
Yeah.
better for it because it
Yeah.
had somebody, there were guardrails and there was
Hmm.
thoughtfulness to that. I think maybe the military may be the vestige of initiation rites where you come in
Yes.
and we are going to change you, and we're going to
Right.
change you for the better, and you're
It
the better
served that
for,
purpose.
right?
That was
Yeah,
a big
without a
purpose
question.
of it.
Yeah.
That was a purpose of it. Yeah.
Right.
To take
And
the person to do it. Yeah.
yeah, and maybe you could let me give you a story of what I would consider an initiatory experience that I have,
Hmm.
and then you can tell me, yeah, that was an initiation, or no, no, Pete, you just that. Because when I listen to people tell me difficult stories of their lives, I'm listening for integration. Like, are you just telling me about something that's happened to you, or are you telling me about something that shaped you
Hmm.
in a way that taught you, I don't want to be this way and I do want to be this way, and that you've integrated the experience into your
Hmm.
psychology and your spiritual
Right.
relationship to the world because she saw something sort of like Viktor Frankl in the, like, after all I've seen, I still, or Anne Frank, after all I've
Yeah.
seen, I believe the people are basically good, or,
Yeah.
Viktor
After
Frankl
all that.
saying,
Right.
yeah, after all that, Viktor Frankl saying, if you don't make your suffering redemptive, then you just
Mm.
suffered. Then if you haven't translated it, transformed it,
Yeah.
you're just a hurt
You're walking around
person.
with a lump of lead.
You work it, yeah, exactly. And you're probably hurting other people because you don't
Hmm.
even recognize
Right.
that. Okay, so I'm going to give you two stories of what I consider to be initiation.
Okay.
It's 1981. My Italian grandfather was a World War II soldier, never spoke about the war to me almost ever, unless it was a funny story. He had several funny stories, but never, he was out in the thick of terrible battle, and
Hmm.
God only knows what he did and was done to him. In 1980 to 81, he contracts lung cancer and has to go through, now chemotherapy in 1981 is very, very different than what it is today. He would go down to the Veterans Hospital, receive his chemotherapy, and this chemotherapy would bring him near death for about 7 days. He'd vomit on the hour for 7 days straight.
Hmm.
And I was in his presence for that time. And it was unclear whether he was going to live in the beginning. And he and I go along with this. And he was my best friend, I would say, in many ways, the person who kind of was my advocate, was believed I could do anything. He
Hmm.
provided that for me. And in this year, he is effectively dying. He dies at the end of the 12 months, but he is talking to me along the way. Now, he's not saying to me, Pete, I'm dying, but he's not allowing this experience to be his only experience. And so I feel like he conveyed a wisdom to me that included, we're not just the body. No matter what happens, we can stay connected to each other. We can convey strength to each other when we need to do it. And no, whether I'm here or not, I always love you. And that to me was, I was 11 and 12, and I felt like I got a chance to learn about what does it mean to lose somebody, to grieve somebody, and how do you approach your own death.
Hmm.
He had a very light touch on it. In fact, he told my mom, look, I'm just on a downstroke. Like, I don't know what this, he was a gambling personality.
Hmm.
He's like, I'm
Hmm.
just on a bad streak. And my mom was like, this bad streak is going to end with you dying.
Right.
But he wasn't
Yeah.
insincere about it. It wasn't false bravado.
Uh-huh.
And in this time, we are poor during this time. Like, we do not have enough to get
Yeah.
through our stuff. And my father is just every day he gets up, he goes and finds a day laborer job, and he simply
Yeah,
doesn't give up on
yeah.
he doesn't become an alcoholic, doesn't distract himself. He
Mhm,
just meets the responsibilities tests in the family. So I'm in an environment where people are dying and there's nothing we can do. We are not in control. I'm in an environment where people would like to work and be prosperous, but they don't have the tools and the circumstances don't exist. And it takes years for this to conclude into the beginnings of something much more reasonable. I've always thought of this time as my initiation into no matter how smart you may be, no matter what you might want to do, you should have the humility to realize you're just a couple of things away from the universe saying, nope, it's your turn in the box. And you know, we're gonna show you that your efforts won't always yield fruit. So
mhm.
so do you think that was an initiation or did I just make my way through that? I mean,
No,
that's how I
no, I think
perceived it.
yeah, I think there's a tag on the end of it, I would say. So what what is done in initiation? We have to say, okay, what is did I get initiated?
Yeah,
What's
tell me. Yeah,
so I think every culture has them, and but one of the more documented, I guess you could say, ones
right.
from the West would be like what they call the Eleusinian mysteries. They would go through
Okay.
these in Greece, and we don't know much about them. Listen, these guys did a good job of keeping a secret. They told
Okay.
them, "Don't tell what happens here," and like thousands of people got initiated into this rite.
Right. And
And
what
we
time in history is this?
oh my gosh, I'm not sure, like 500 between 500 BC and 500 AD, this went on,
Okay, so this is ancient.
ancient
I
history.
mean,
And
roughly
so we
ancient. Yeah.
know kind of what surrounded all of it. And you moved from what was called, okay, so they had what was called the lesser mysteries and the greater mysteries.
Yes.
The lesser mysteries were kind of a purification.
Okay.
The greater mysteries, you were confronted with
Okay.
something. Okay, so you went through, so like martial arts, I feel like a lot of ways is acting as a lesser mystery.
I agree.
It's burning off some dross that
Yes.
needs to be burned off, whether you know it or not. Okay, so
Right.
again, but what I was going to get at to kind of tell you, so we know from them what happened was something was three things. Something was said, something was shown, and something was done.
Okay.
We don't know what those things are.
Okay.
We just know that this happened, right? And almost all initiatory rites follow this idea. So we have to see what happened here. And I think this is happening all the time.
Okay.
Like you said, that was a
Yeah.
good point. I mean, this is we're continually being shown, somebody says something, somebody should do it. So I think, you being told those things
Hmm.
and then you observing, shown
Yes.
to you
Yes.
how to
Yes.
act.
Right.
So the last question would be, did you do something? Did you do anything
Yeah.
to
Yes.
to instill that, like something like that? And here's the difference, I think. So you
Okay.
say everybody's going through these rights.
Right.
Everything's going through these things. I think the difference is some people see those things
I agree.
and they go and do them because of external pressure.
Interesting.
They will see themselves as failing
Yeah.
if they don't do this and they'll be ridiculed.
Right.
And shame and embarrassment is a super strong pain. There's two kinds of pain, mental and physical.
Hmm.
The mental pain is embarrassment.
Right.
That's what how the brain is experiences fear and things is mostly embarrassment. And so we'll do it because of that, because there's an external pressure. I'm
Right.
being held to something outside of me. I think that what when you transform and you go through the initiatory rite, now you're going to do it because it's in line with universal principle
Yes. Yeah.
or the divine or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
whatever you
No,
want to
I
say.
love what you're
You'll be in
saying.
line with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say the superficial part of it, the external pressure
Mhm,
to stay with this story, just to
mhm,
explore whether it is or isn't an
mhm,
initiation, is
mhm,
that I came out of that time, I was still a boy. And I came out of that time thinking, I cannot go through a teenage experience in which I might explore things that could create disharmony in the family, drugs,
mhm.
girls,
Right.
all the stuff that might be typical.
Mhm,
And instead, because I knew my parents couldn't have the distraction of a child, that
Hmm.
was pulling them away from the tyranny of the urgent that they were experiencing. We gotta find work. We got to, figure out a way. We need to figure out a formal education. We have to. My parents were teenage parents, and so they're 29, 28, 30 in this time
Hmm.
period. Um, so my, I think, shame and embarrassment thing was to say, I will walk a straight path because of not walking a straight path creates chaos within my unit, and that chaos brings down the whole thing. If
Right.
my parents are yanking me out of jail, or I'm on drugs,
Right.
or I'm doing whatever, there's a
Mm.
problem. But where I think it might have transformed me is that it also then forced me to become a reader and somebody who is interested in what are other people doing with these difficult experiences. And I
Mm.
think my own mind, coupled with
Yeah.
what had been shown to me, my
Yeah.
doing was to say, well, do you want to live a life that I knew addicts, I knew criminals, I
Right.
experienced a bit of violence. Like, you really, sometimes that stuff looked really attractive to me at 15 because
Right.
I had uncles who were funny, but they were not on the right path. So I love the
Yeah.
stories. I got into
Right.
this fight, I got into that fight. Okay, I ended
Right.
up in jail. I did this and that. Um, but it uh it made me choose, I think, a road, and then I chose a road I picked it that, like, no, there's such a thing. I will be better served by trying to walk a life
Right.
aligned with principles rather
Right.
than one that might just produce good stories. I don't know what to say.
Right, right.
Does that
I
make
know what you're
sense?
saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
I think there's this metamorphosis that happens.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, did you ever? I don't. I'm not like a. I don't know anything about Nietzsche
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
other than he wrote. There's something called the Metamorphosis that
Yes.
he
Yes.
talks about,
Sure.
and you see, okay, and I think that at the very last of that, the metamorphosis from what is it, from a camel to a
Yes.
lion,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
it changes, and then at the very end, it's an infant.
Yes.
And my understanding was the German word that he used with that was a wheel turning out of its own center.
Yes. Yes.
So that you're acting from somewhere much deeper, not this external pressure.
Right.
So that takes some action. Now, there are three paths
But
of action.
let's linger for a second on the
Okay,
on
sure,
the
sure.
three animals,
Yeah.
so that way
Okay.
people may be
Okay.
unfamiliar with the metaphor.
Okay,
So the
sure.
the camel is designed to bear weight. And
Yes.
so the more weight you can take
It
on
takes
at the
on.
time you are a camel, you are
Yes.
building your strength and your muscles. So there is a period of your life in which you
Get down
must
on your
you must
haunches
get
and
down on your haunches and load
and
you
put it
up.
on. Yeah,
And,
load
right,
it
and
up.
you're going to do that several times, and the
And
more you
that's
do it,
rules. Those are also that's rules you take on. That's rules.
yes,
Rules.
all
Listen,
of it.
it's rules you don't understand
Indeed.
that you
Now,
take
the,
on.
the stronger you are as a camel, when you transform to the lion, your powers are proportional to what you
The weight you
endured
bore.
as a
Hmm.
camel, right? And
Yeah.
now you're entering into the world as a much more effective,
Right.
capable,
Person.
person. But you will lose that.
Right. Because when you have it, and then a desire develops. This is that inside the head, what's going on. Because in the story, the lion wants to kill a dragon,
Yes,
and
yes,
that's
yes,
and
yes,
that's all he can think of.
yes,
So he takes off running across the desert, and he's looking for this dragon. And when he
yes,
finds it, this thing rises up. It's just intimidating, and it's got these shiny scales on it.
right.
And whereas every scale says "Thou shalt"
Oh,
on
that's
every
right, that's
scale,
right,
right? And
that's
so
right.
this is every rule you've ever been told as a
Yeah,
kid. You're going to do this, and you get the reason you get is just because,
right.
right?
Yes, yes,
And
right, right,
just do it because I said so, and
right,
things like that. And you doing it. So you're right. If this camel took on enough weight, then this lion may be just big enough of a badass to
right.
kill
To
this
take the dragon.
thing. And then when that happens, let's say he kills it, then the scales change,
Right.
and it changes. The thou shalt changes to I will.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And so now, you may still follow the same rules. I may, whatever rules were laid on me, I may look at them and go, hey, yeah, I'm going to keep that one and discard this one.
Right.
The difference is, I've had the experience to know which ones apply to me.
That's right.
But at the beginning, you listen to other people do it, right? And then the lion transforms into this infant, this reborn infant, and
Right.
that's the wheel turning out of its own center. You're following the rule because you understand the rule
Yes.
and you know why. But in that interim, that going from camel to lion,
Right.
I believe there's three paths of action, right? There's one is discipline by taking on hardship,
Right.
right? You learn to endure
Mm-hmm.
hardship is one. Second is self-study.
Nice. Right.
And then the third is surrender.
Interesting.
Or let's put it another way, just believing in something greater than yourself.
Yes.
And what that, I think for a lot of people, maybe we can make that a little more palatable by saying, let go of the result. Don't get caught up
Yeah. Yeah.
in the result of it, right? So doing, getting after it, do something hard, do something difficult, right? Face that, and get help. People can
Yeah.
help you
Right.
do that,
Right.
right?
Find a
And
teacher.
then
Yeah.
this self-study is also study of looking at yourself is one way to think of it. Another way is like actually studying by yourself,
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
reading, and that also inspires people.
Right.
That can inspire you to keep going when it gets hard, right? And then this letting go of whatever, uh, uh, that's diminishing the ego,
Yes.
right? Like that. But those simplified, that's those three things, I think the path of action, I think, is what helps drive that person and guide them into that being the being a, being the lion and being able to at
Yeah.
least engage that dragon,
Yes,
something
yes.
like that.
Now I feel like those metaphors have a bent that's a little Eastern. I mean, in Europe,
Mhm.
there's a fable called Iron John, and it
Mhm.
breaks these into three colors, and
Oh,
like
okay.
the color of youth is red. And
Mhm.
the young person is looking for conflict and seeking out
Mhm.
conflict, and
Yeah.
they're looking for a way to test themselves in terms of
Yeah.
putting them in conflict with whatever the world has to offer. But
Right.
out of that conflict, the maturation of that person, the color transforms into white. And now
Hmm.
you've taken the energy of youth and you've directed it for something in the world that's good. And
Hmm.
you're out there and you're super effective and get more effective. And then that has to give way to black. And in the
Hmm.
time of blackness is your time of wisdom, in which case you are
Hmm.
no longer the prime mover of the change, but you are the wisdom behind, guiding people through red to white, white to deeper effectiveness,
Nice.
and the submission of when do you transition into blackness. I think you have a lot of people walking around without much experience trying to be the wise people, and they've skipped
Jump
steps.
the gun.
They
Yeah,
jumped the
they jumped
gun
the
because
gun.
they really like that. And then there's other people never got out of red. They're just looking for a fight all day, every
Just
day
looking
with
for
the
a fight
world.
all the time, right?
Yeah.
They've not been initiated, right?
Yeah.
They
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
so they haven't had the red taken out of them,
Yes, right,
right?
right. And as we bring this back to jujitsu, I think like these are the things. You need another person
Yeah,
to do it, right?
right,
So you need a relationship in the world. And then you need that teacher. Don't do this, do this.
right.
Understand the techniques. And there comes a point in time, and I am not at that point in time because we all know I'm a beginner in jujitsu, but you are not. You are well past the notion of that thou shalt in
Yeah,
the world of like jujitsu is
jiu-jitsu, right?
techniques, right? And once you
Yeah,
once you go past that, now you're in the land of
you
principles.
pick where can I work? Yeah, what
Yeah,
works for
right, right.
me?
And I'm no longer, oh, I need to do one,
Yeah,
two, three. I need
right.
to employ the principle of,
Yes,
pick your
right.
movement, right?
And that goes along those lines. We talked once, I think, about that going from bad habit to good habit to
To
no
know habit.
habit,
Yes, yes.
and not stopping in the middle there.
Right.
Not
Yeah,
get get
yes,
get
yes. Yeah,
good,
very
but hey,
good.
that's and but most people stop there, right? They just go up. Okay, I got bad habits in jujitsu. I learned these techniques. I get good at them. My son had this experience. He was never, you know, he did jujitsu for strongly for about 4 years of his life, somewhat begrudgingly,
Okay.
because he never asked me a single question about it. He trained with one of the instructors here.
What
Like you were
could you
saying, you can't
possibly
do that
know?
with your dad. I'm either going to be too soft or too hard. But he never asked me a single question. But he
Yeah.
didn't miss practice. He went with the other instructor twice a week. So finally, when he's about 18 years old, he goes, calls me up from school. He goes, "Hey, Dad, you at the academy?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You want to roll?" I
Oh,
was ecstatic. I was like,
yeah, yeah.
"I do. I'm here. You got your key?" And he said, "Yeah, I've got it with me." So I thought, okay, 14, 15 was the last time I did this with him. He's 18 now. Let's see how it goes. And we did it. He rolled, and I caught him a few times and
Sure.
stuff, and we got done. And I said, "How'd you feel about that?" And he goes, "Oh, I got tapped a few times." And I said, "Well, what'd you expect?" And he's, "Well, okay." He said, "Yeah, but still." I said, "Listen, buddy," I said, "You didn't do anything wrong."
Wow. Okay.
I said, "You did everything correct." I said, "I beat you because I knew where you were going with that
Sure.
move. I know what you know." I said, "So you didn't do any really bad habits. You've
Yes.
beaten those." I said, "However, you still have habits.
Right.
And even those good habits can be predicted, and I can take
Yes.
advantage of them." I said, "So from here, if you want to pursue jujitsu further, then you're going to have to get to a point of no habit. And that means no pattern, which means that you are completely responsive in the
Yes.
moment,
Yeah.
right? You still can do all those techniques. You're not
Right.
throwing them away, but you're just responsive." I said, "So as long as you're that pattern," I said, "but that's what happened to you,
Right.
right? I caught you because I knew what you were going to do,
And I
you know?"
think that like what if we were to tie these things into the conversation, that to me represents an integration. Like over these period of time when you started, surely you've gone through the progression you just described to your son, is that you
Mhm.
did not know what you were doing, and then
Right.
you didn't even know you didn't know what you were doing. You probably can't
Right.
you can't figure out why is this happening, and
Yeah.
then that like then we achieve conscious incompetence. Like, at least I know
Yes.
I don't know
I
what
know I
I'm
don't
doing.
know,
I know
right?
I don't know. I'm consciously incompetent.
That's the
Uh,
pivot,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think,
no, no,
Pete.
I'll be delighted to
And
pivot.
the most important
Yeah,
is
well,
knowing you
without it.
don't know.
Yeah, and I believe me, every training session that is hammered home that good God,
That's good.
yeah,
That should
I
be hammered
guess
home.
and then I mean, in a certain sense, you describe the person to me as conscious competence. Like
Yes.
he knew what he was doing, and I think
Hmm.
it's an interesting bifurcation for me because then I think you can, if you just stay there, you become unconsciously incompetent again because
Hmm.
you don't know what it's like to like, why am I losing to my dad? And
Yeah.
then, you can become, I think, unconsciously competent,
Competent. Hmm.
in the same
That's
manner.
the no
And
habit. Yeah,
that's
that
the
would be the
no
no
habit.
habit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's born from that. But I guess the question that I was thinking about when we were going to talk about this stuff was, how does this need to be interjected today?
Yes.
Or do we just carry the process out? Or if the person coming into your academy is in on it, would they tend to, like, okay, I see where we're going here.
Right.
It is self-defense, it is some fitness, it is a sense of community. But then at a certain point, another one of these characteristics of these mystery schools was that you separate the person from their outside life.
Right. Right.
You bring them inside a smaller community,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And do we, I guess in my mind, I don't know, is that something that we need to worry about at all? Do I just need to know that as an instructor, and carry on and guide the program that direction, and then let the person come and go? Or do we talk about this? Do we discuss, does it give us an internal impetus structure for this outer curriculum that we show to the public?
Right.
And
For
I
me,
don't mean to, and that sounds kind of hidden. I don't like,
no, no,
I know
no,
people
no,
don't
no.
like, they don't like that talk. I'm not trying to hide anything.
No, no, no. I think, well, I know, I understand exactly what you're saying. And I think several reactions to that is it doesn't have to be the initiatory place for a person. Like they can get it elsewhere. They can be coming in, this is part A of their life and not part B.
Right.
When I think of the jiu-jitsu mindset as an entity, in some, if I'm afflicted with great prosperity
Hmm.
and I can do different things that I want to do, one of the things that I would love is to create opportunities for what you're saying. So, should this be the place in which you're looking to go there? We then call you out, and we bring you to a place. And in that place, it's not you get beat up, it's not that
Right.
type of initiation, but we start to move you from, one from technique to principle. But like, well, what does this mean? in the broader, what are the broader
Right.
principles that take
Yeah.
you
When I
into your
walk
life?
out, yeah. If it's only working on the mat, it's not very valuable.
Exactly, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
How does this affect? And I know, a lot of teachers get, there's funny memes and things about, these jiu-jitsu instructors. I'm guilty of it too, going off on some kind of tangent
Oh,
about how
sure,
this is
sure. Yeah.
affecting your life and this diatribe, and everybody's there to learn a triangle. And why are you telling me about this? And obviously, we probably, if you've been teaching for any length of time, you've probably caught yourself
Sure.
going off on this thing because how could it not
And
affect
it
you?
does, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it does provide that for many, many, many people. I mean, in
Yes.
and of itself, just within the
Right.
context of a school.
Just
Yeah.
in that sense of community. But I think that, yeah, the person has to come to this. Like you said, I think you have to let it play out to a certain extent. But, you know, I remember, I've trained with Dan Inosanto. I've got
Mm.
a teaching certificate from him, Filipino martial arts in Junfan. And one of the things that got brought out during the Filipino martial arts was the idea of sacred space
Yes.
and how, uh, and then along here we are with these initiatory rites from their past too.
Yeah.
You there was, you come into this space, you've
Right.
designated a place that's separate from your everyday life,
Yes. Right.
and
That's
you walk in
bow
here.
to the mat, right? I mean,
Right. Yes, exactly. And it's constructed a certain way. Like we don't have any, I don't have really hardly anything on the walls
right.
in our academy. And I'm not, listen, I'm not saying anybody should do this. It's
You know,
just,
yeah,
this
this
is
isn't a
just us.
prescription.
This
This is
this
a,
just no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. Well, anyway, I'm not telling people to do this, but I don't put up trophies or medals in the academy. Guys compete, and we're, oh good, we'll kind of cheer them on, but that's that.
right.
Okay, but when they come in, they put a gi on.
Right.
They take off the clothes that they were wearing during the day and whatever stigma that carried,
Right.
and they put on something else.
Right.
Now, you were mentioning color.
Yes.
We wear white
Right.
gis. That's kind of that midpoint,
Right.
right? We
Yes.
want to go to. White is obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So you're learning the beginnings, the things that should be obvious to you in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And then the belt turns from white to black. Black is obscured.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not so obvious, that these things, and we progress like that. And so it's somebody coming in. And so then you get people do what? What do? They get the gi, they come in, they take the class, and then it's very special to them. And they leave and they want to keep that. So they'll buy a t-shirt.
Right.
So they take a little bit of that sacred space and you have an emblem or
Right.
something on the shirt. And hopefully your emblem is meaningful.
Right.
And you tell them what that means. And then they almost, it's counterproductive sometimes. They almost don't want to talk to people about it because now they have a secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, what's your shirt?
Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as keeping them in it, it feels like I'm really a part of something here
Yes.
that's depth. And I don't want to just spew it out and vulgarize it.
Right. Right.
you know I don't want to just give that information to anybody.
Right. Yeah.
And so you get this little dichotomy of, I'm running a business here and I need to supply it, but I'm also, you want to keep it special,
Yes. Yes.
you know but creating that sacred space, I
Right.
think, for the students has some sort of psychological transformation, and maybe that is enough in itself to drive someone a bit deeper, to ask a deeper question.
Well, I agree. And I think the way that jujitsu is where I have settled on what my physical life will be directed until I die.
Hmm.
And, is when you enter the sacred space,
Hmm.
there's danger. And in the danger, which and for me in a healthy environment, that danger is false danger, because you are going to be shown how you're going to choke somebody to death, but before
Right.
you die there will be a stoppage. And
Yes.
so someone will show you how to break somebody's arm but will not
Mhm.
break your arm, but
Right.
your experience, your emotional experience is, you're going to break my arm.
It's going to be real.
It's
Yeah.
going to be
You
real.
you you won't distinguish between it, right?
Right.
And
So
that
the
in the
say
moment,
in the
in the
moment,
moment, in the
yes,
moment, yes.
exactly. So the sacredness to me has that this is dangerous, and yet I'm capable enough to endure the danger
Endure it.
and exit the mat stronger than when I entered the mat. Because you cannot go and sit on the mat and have somebody tell you and a triangle works like this, and you never
Hmm.
get up and experience a triangle.
Right.
It can't be in the land of an
Something has to be
idea.
done.
Something has to
It
be
has to be
shown
done.
and done,
And
and
this
then you have
happens
to,
every
yeah,
class. The teacher
exactly.
gets on, the teacher says, "Come in, everybody sit down.
Right,
I'm going to tell you about a triangle.
right,
The reason you do the triangle, blah, blah, blah. Here's how
right,
you do the triangle. Everybody go and do it."
right.
Okay,
You're
so
told and you're shown.
and then you do it.
Right,
And so
and
this
then
is
you do it.
happening over and over again.
Yes,
So this is happening on a micro scale,
right,
but there's an overarching said, shown, and done happening in your
right.
life
Yeah,
that's overarching your life. That when you leave the academy, and can we take that process, show the student the process that's on the mat, and make him aware of that process is going on out in the world?
right.
And then how does that change? How does that change how he interacts with the world?
Yes. And for me, it is planting and watering seeds. If you are somebody that does not trust
That's it.
somebody,
Yep.
you will not enjoy this if you cannot trust your training partner. If
Right.
you are somebody who is super blustery and you think that you're the king of the jungle,
Right.
and somebody half your size shows you you're not really the king of the
In the
jungle,
jungle.
you're forced into humility. If you walk on the
Right.
mats and you think I'm not capable of, I can't do anything in the world, and all of a
Right.
sudden you're choking somebody out, you have that. And so in the sacred space, in the show, this tell, show, do things.
Uh-huh.
This is what I think is acting on the subconscious that people
Yes.
come and tell me, Jiu-Jitsu changed my life.
Yes.
Because without having to come and say, we're going to change your life, we're going to put you through this initiatory process
Right.
and we're going to
Right.
repeat it, and
Yes.
you're going to do better. The more we
Right.
tell you and show you, the stronger you're. The camel part of this class,
Yes. Right.
you're going to go
Right.
through this cycle, and then, beginning purple belts like me sadly open their mouth and try to play the role of black to the brand
But
new,
people
you
have
know,
to prioritize that,
they
right?
prioritize.
Because that to come do it
Yes, yes.
in their
Yeah.
life. Because but you can say, "Oh, this is great," and then you're coming every 2 or 3 weeks.
Then you're not getting it. Yeah.
Nothing's changing.
Right.
It's consistent. So we have to define practice,
Yes.
which is something. And I keep this up on our board in our school. Practice is something done uh, over a long period of time
Right.
with no interruption and in reverence.
Yes. Yes. It has to
So,
carry. It has to carry a
and it,
seriousness to it.
yes,
Yes.
otherwise it's abuse.
That's interesting. Yeah.
We're just hurting each other
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for our
Yeah.
own gain. So I
Yes.
tell guys when they compete, I say, listen, if you go, listen, you got to be careful, man. If you're just going to bring your will to bear on another person, that's violence.
No, that's
That's going to
interesting.
negatively impact you if
Yes.
you keep doing it over and over. But if you're going to the competition in order to not only better yourself, but the person you're training with, this is for both of our benefits. If you can truly get in that mind space and you operate that way, that'll be a good exercise.
Yes.
But you're playing with fire a little bit because you could easily take personal credit for
Affront.
that.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
that's why the three actions, one of those has to be to let go.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So you're going to have to discipline yourself, go do it, and then observe yourself. How am I acting? You know, and then do it. And that discipline draws that out because discipline, that when you fight, when you get on the mat and you roll,
Right.
you have kata,
Right.
your specific movements
Right.
that you're doing in the right order, and then you have adaptability, right? And
Yes.
my definition of adaptability is how you act when things don't go your way.
Yes. Very good.
That's observing, right? And then I get done and I can analyze it. I did great, man. I really took this guy out, or I really took it on the chin on this one. I didn't do it, and realize that and drop it. You can still take action and
Yes.
drop that. I think that's what people get confused on, but you can do that. You can improve yourself and do it and drop, but you have to, I think, look at those three actions, observe those. That starts the transformative when you to a degree check those boxes. I think now the person has taken responsibility.
Yes.
Because I had a police officer that trained with me, and he came in one time. He said, "Hey, I was at a training thing I went to this weekend." He said, I heard the word warrior thrown around a lot."
Right.
He said, "What do you think of that? What's that word?" He said, "Do you have a definition?" And I said, "Well, I kind of I like Joseph Campbell's definition
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
of a
Yeah.
warrior. A warrior is someone who has taken full responsibility for himself.
Nice.
That's it. So I tell these guys, when you get your black belt, if you think you're going to be a warrior, you know what that means, right? That means that it's all your fault.
Right. Yes.
Everything. You can't get on the mat anymore and roll around and a guy get hurt and you
It's
say, well, he should have known better.
right.
You were in charge.
Yes.
You control that fight. You stop that fight. You do whatever, right? There's no more blaming.
Right. Right.
Now, if you think that's unfair, that you're responsible for everybody in the academy, then don't put the belt on.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because for me, one of those dichotomies, and I use this in my business life when I'm leading teams, is, are you a warrior or a mercenary? And the
Exactly.
grossest, like, meaning the most obvious, right, is that a mercenary does it for money and a warrior does it for principle.
Right.
But I mean, I think you could also just say the mercenary does it for outcome and the warrior does it for the thing itself. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
I can feel particularly uh 6 years into trying to learn something here. I'm still waiting to feel like I've learned something accurately. But I mean, I can feel like the imposition of will, because, and granted, I mean, nobody looks at me as like a target or a trophy to say, oh, I tapped that guy. I mean, no,
Hmm.
I'm not exactly that person in the gym, but I can still feel, 25-year-old, 30-year-old wrestler, white belt come in and want to show, well, I'm tapping out purple belts here, all the
Right.
rest of it. And I don't mind that per se, but from an observation perspective, I can tell this person's beginning their journey as a mercenary. Like, I need to show
Right.
you what I know and
Prove
how
to
strong. I need
myself,
to prove to
to
you
validate.
myself. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I tell these guys, I said, when that makes me think, there's supposed a quote. I don't know if it's true. I never know. You never can tell who said anything
Yeah,
anymore
right,
on the
right.
internet. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know who that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But supposedly Edgar Allan Poe had a
Hmm.
quote that said, "Convinced myself, I seek not to convince." And
Yes. Yeah.
I tell guys here, my instructors, when I do instructor, I say, you can't. We're not here to convince anybody of anything.
Right.
They can come and go as they please and come out. We'll show them what we know and what we know. But if I'm in an argument with you, then I need you to validate me, right?
Right,
If I
right,
really
right.
truly feel this in my heart of heart, why would I need you to, or even mention it to you?
Yeah,
Actually,
right,
unless
right.
you
Yeah.
ask me, unless you just point blank ask me. Otherwise, I bring it up and try to force your opinion and debate this way. And they were like, "Well, we don't debate." I said, "No, I mean, we're fine. Yeah, you can do that verbally only if it's just to gain deeper understanding, not
Right.
convince.
Yes,
Don't
yes.
try to convince that other guy. If you're trying to convince him, it just means you don't know." I said, discourse would just be for you both to try to understand
Right,
better. But same thing when we physically fight.
right. Interesting. Yeah.
I want that discourse, physical discourse. And I don't know anything else, Pete, that does that, that has that kind of physical discourse.
I mean, that is largely what has caused me to orient the energy that I do towards,
Yes, there's
jujitsu, because
something,
there's something different here.
and grappling in particular,
Yes, no, no, yes, that's exactly it. Yeah,
that there's just something in the water there with the amount of contact,
yeah,
you know, like being able to, I'm not picking at anything, but to kick or punch and then back, this in and out. But there's something that continual contact, and not, and that, I think it's that burial,
okay. Meaning that
confined.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
interesting.
confine you down so much that your choices are gone. That's what brings you close to death.
That's interesting. Yeah,
Like this inevitable outcome here,
right.
and I can't wiggle out. You're
Yes,
going, you're gonna die.
yeah,
There's no escape. So I get on the mat and I get some big black belt or brown belt that pins me down
right.
and I can't get out. and I have to tap.
Right.
And then you have to be okay with that,
Yes. And
you know?
just to for me,
Hmm.
um, for example, I was up in Reno and I rolled with Coach Darian up there.
Hmm.
And one of the things about what you're saying, which for me psychologically is interesting, is that if he imposing my will to instruct me, his will on
Hmm.
me,
Hmm.
one of the things that is interesting about that experience is that I have no solution for what he's doing. Like
Yeah.
what he's doing, if he chose to take it to its conclusion, ends in him killing me, you know. And
Yes.
so that, and we're going to talk about death and resurrection, like that to me, because I think the divine put me in jujitsu at the age that I was, is that at
Uh-huh.
20, I think I would say, I will figure this out. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't have had the tools or the thing, like you,
Yeah.
I know I'm not figuring it out. Like he's doing something I don't understand. Like he's trying to
Yes.
teach me, but I don't get it
Right.
yet.
Right.
Like, and for him, he's like, hey, knucklehead, like it's just this. But I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to learn it, but
Right.
it's not obvious to me. Um, and that, but my choice with that is either to reject it.
Hmm.
This isn't really what I'm experiencing. Get
Yeah.
bitter about it, like, well,
Yeah.
you're just beating up an old man,
Yeah.
or go, oh, there's wisdom here that I don't know, and that will
Yeah.
open other things to me. And I'm inclined, naturally to see the wisdom part of it. And
Right.
so,
And you're talking about him not being able to, you don't know what he's doing.
right, like
And he can't,
he
and he can't
even
tell
if he
you.
tells me, no,
If
he
he
can
tells you,
tell me.
so one of
Yeah,
the symbols of these mystery schools, most
right.
all of them, they would usually have some kind of statue or some kind of something outside the temple or whatever, like this.
That's interesting.
And people go, oh, this is a secret society.
Yeah,
They're keeping secrets. They're keeping
yeah,
secrets.
yeah.
But the word for mystery, mystē,
Uh-huh.
from the Greek, means the mouth is closed.
Right.
But it doesn't mean I'm keeping something from you. It means I can't tell you. You're going to have an experience. This is something intangible
Yes.
that cannot be intellectually
Yes.
spoken
Yeah.
and
It has to
told
be
you
conveyed through the body.
through the body.
Yeah. Into the mind and spirit.
That's
Yes.
right. That's why the finger's over the mouth, not because I'm hiding something from you. But the general populace, right, would think
Hmm.
that, right? When you looked at it, because that's a surface meaning. Like I look at this symbol, and I heard somebody told me that the a symbol uh, is what sneaks truth past the ego.
That's interesting.
So we have a
Yes.
symbol
Yeah.
that we look at that would mean something to a person walking by, and it means something different to an initiated person.
Yeah. Yeah. The yin
Same
yang
statue,
thing. Yeah.
same statue.
Sure.
So me coming in and rolling, you know, me rolling as a black belt with somebody has much different meaning than the white belt that came in and why he's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
Both where we are, we're both developed from that point, you know. So we can't look at it as right and wrong, just gradations of,
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
like that. But I always thought that was interesting that
Yeah.
the
That's fine.
the finger over the mouth.
And I think, I mean, in this particular experience, just to be fair, like he's inviting me into, like he's inviting me into the secret. He's giving me
Yeah,
both like language and experience.
right.
But it it was the encountering of the mystery that was like obvious. It was obvious too. Like I
And what
know it.
makes it different? Why is that intriguing to you?
Yeah.
Why did that take you that way? That took you deeper.
Yes.
Some people would get up and leave
Right.
and
Yeah,
go,
because
well, this is not for me.
I came to the end of myself, right? Like
Right.
I'm at the
You died
boundary.
to a part.
I
You
died to a part because this is it. This is all I know how to do.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know
gonna
how to
get.
do this one thing
Yeah, yeah.
and not all that well.
I
And here,
trust. I have enough faith that
yes.
this is gonna take me in the right direction, even if I don't get it right now.
And he
You
gave
know.
me evidence,
Yep. Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
think is,
Yeah.
there's evidence. Can you get out of this, Pete? No, I cannot get out
No,
of
I
this.
cannot. Okay, so something's different, right?
Something's
You're
different.
missing something, Pete.
I don't know what he knows. And
Yeah,
that's,
but something's missing.
yeah, and that's where, I mean, although I'm not, a subscriber to in particular religious tradition
Mm,
the way I was
mm,
as a child, I mean
yeah,
the subscription as a child gave me a great, language and appreciation for how
yeah.
does mystery present itself. And two quick stories about that. Uh there was a SpaceX launch. I was in California and I took all
Oh,
my kids and my granddaughter. I'm
oh wow.
like we saw the spaceship go up. Now, this is much the same way. I do not know how that spaceship goes up there. I'm at the limits. I'm observing something that's past my understanding.
Yeah.
And so, in the primitive way, I'm mi- witnessing a miracle. Now,
Right.
somebody knows how that stuff works, but I don't know how it
Right.
works, you
Right.
know? And then I'm at dinner with my wife, and another rocket goes off, and I get up and I walk into the parking lot because I want to see it. It's a
Right.
rocket, for God's sakes. And
Yeah.
I'm out there. Everybody is walking around me. Nobody's paying attention to the rocket. And I think,
Uh,
what a time that this is,
that we
that
live
like
in. Yeah.
we can shoot a rocket into space that's going to come back down and be taught. And it's like, I need to go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about like if there were no sunsets or sunrises,
Mhm.
and then I said to you every day I'm going to put this thing in the sky. And
Yeah.
it's like it's a hole really far away. It's going to change the shape of the sky. It's going to get
Yeah.
colors. Every day it's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Would you like that? Like,
Yeah.
would you go look at it?
Yeah.
And every day I think, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Miracles are happening all around me, and I missed it.
Yes. Yeah.
Is a lack
Right.
of
Yeah.
attention
Miracle.
to the most beautiful things around me. It's
But then,
terrible,
the longer you're in there, you see the sunrise every day and it becomes nothing.
right?
Then one day it'll be something again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
Well, I think you
circle.
can you can cultivate the, like can you not miss? How much can you not miss? Um,
Well, do you know we talked about this on another podcast with the book? We were talking about boredom,
yes, I
about
was going to say in
how
death and
boredom is a
resurrection.
gate.
Yeah, would you talk about that? Because I think
Well,
that's
just boredom. I
important.
mean, my feeling was that boredom was a gatekeeper,
Hmm.
and when people are just about to quit
Right.
from boredom, and that's kind of the blue belt curse, right?
Yes. Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, we always joke here: if you want to
Yeah.
get rid of them, promote them to blue. You'll never see
Yeah.
them again.
Yeah.
But
Right.
anyway,
Yeah.
that boredom is like something's going to happen. But the reason it's going to happen is that boredom is going to either push you deeper
Yes.
to find something new in the topic that you're in, or it's going to push you out to another topic.
Yes.
But you
Yes.
have to be
Yes.
careful. If you can't just say, "Oh, I'm just going to keep digging shallow holes everywhere."
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
never going to hit water that way. You at some point you have to dig down
Right.
until you hit bedrock or what you were trying to do. So that boredom is asking you at that point, that magical formula that we talk, that
Yeah.
IAO you see
Yes. Yes.
sometimes,
Yes. Yeah.
Isis, Apophis, I
Isis.
think, and,
Yeah.
and, and Osiris. That's the the death and resurrection. Am I going to go deeper at this point of boredom? Like, okay, I'm coming in every day. I'm not seeing any change. I'm in the desert. I was talking about this with a meditation
Yeah.
practice. And you're like, dude, there is nothing happening
Yeah.
here, man.
Right.
It
Yeah.
is literally dry as the desert. I mean, I'm not making any progress. And I see students come in. It happens during that blue belt phase sometimes that they're
Sure.
like, I don't feel like I'm the same people are kicking my ass every
Yeah.
time I
Yeah.
come in here. I'm not doing anything. And I'm just not getting anywhere. Well,
Right.
then what are you now? Here you're at the crooks. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep walking across the desert? Because there's nothing behind you. Can't go backward and keep going. And I think that that boredom is something's about to happen, man.
Yeah.
If you just
Yeah.
stay in there, it's about to happen.
Right. And I mean, not to continue to go overly subtle in terms of
Yeah.
words, but I mean, the white belt comes in, it's a flush of excitement because the
Yes.
pace of development is so fast, right? Like, oh
False
my
fast,
gosh, look,
right?
look, look at
This is
how amazing.
incredible.
This is incredible. I can't believe it. And
Yeah.
then, that stage of boredom and I think and again, this may be overly subtle, but there's people who approach it with a discipline. I'm going to force myself to come in, and people who come into it with a devotion. And the and I think the difference between those two things is that you're aware that there's something else, there's a faith component to it. There's something else
Yes.
past here. And that to me is a better way to live because the anticipation of something good happening
Hmm.
is a quality of being that you said everything is a skill. I think joy is a skill. Like you can
Hmm.
cultivate a joyful anticipation of things to come,
Yes.
or you're grinding because you should grind, and and
Right.
and that is not the same thing to me because you're it's a rule. It's a thou shalt come in and grind and all the rest of it. Whereas
Well, that,
like, this is fallow period, but the fallow
right.
period, the seeds are underneath there doing something.
And you used a good word. That's the difference between devotional practice, a devotional type practice, and
Yeah.
then just a surface level practice of where I'm
Yes.
being promised something at the end.
Yes.
Like you could swing a dead cat and hit somebody and say,
Yeah.
grit your teeth and hang in there, and you're going to
Yeah.
get this in 3 weeks.
Right.
But I had a student that was older, is in his 70s. We were kind of having this discussion. He's a really successful business owner. And he's talking about people that his employees doing things for money and doing things,
Yeah. Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the, and I said, well, I tell you what, Wayne, I said, what if I told you I'm not going to promote you anymore and you're not going to get any better? And he's a thoughtful guy, so he kind of thought
Sure.
for a second. He said, well, I'm in my 70s. You're not promoting me anymore. I can get past that.
Right.
He said, but not getting any better. He said, I don't know about that.
Right.
And I said, okay, so you don't want to train Thursday? He said, no, I want to train. And I said, what for? You're not going to get any better. And
Right.
and largely I'm being truthful with him. He's 70 something years old.
Right.
And I said, you're not going to get any better. And he stood there and he said, well, yeah, I want to train though. I said, but what for? And he said, well, I'd miss it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
it's good.
There's an element of
That's it.
love in that. There's an
That's
element
it.
of,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's it. You,
Yeah.
you know, you're now, I said, so you now have a devotional practice.
Yes. 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 Yes.
You've gone beyond me offering you something to stay.
Right.
So this is no longer attached to your ego so much.
Right.
You're doing it because there's something inside of you, maybe you can't name it, that's pulling you toward it, that's feeding you in a certain way on a
Yeah.
deeper level.
Yeah.
And that's maybe a way to gauge it. Do
Yeah.
I
It's in,
need
yeah.
do I need a promise to come here today? Somebody promised me
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. That's interesting. Although I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, I still, and maybe, is just belies my own ambitions for myself, right? Is that I still, that at 70, whatever,
Yeah.
that there are still things to discover for him ahead that will make him better, which is right.
Oh, yes. And I think that's what he can't name because if you're looking at it just on those, hey, I'm achieving things like a 20-year-old.
Right. Right.
But if
Right.
he accepts that forest dweller
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
of his life, then
Yes.
he'll go, okay, I'm getting better
Yes. Yeah.
in a different way. Yeah.
Right.
And that changes. So that's just a perspective change. That's an initiation, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, Professor, we're like we've scratched 2% of what we have to talk
I
about, but
know it. I know it. I
I'm
always
so,
love these, Pete.
oh, you're so good to me.
Oh man, no, these are awesome. I was so excited about doing this.
Well, we'll continue this conversation, and
Okay.
hopefully there's someone out there that, well, who knows? Maybe it's my mom and whoever that's listening to this thing.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
if no one, for me, this is devotional.
Hey, we got something out of it, didn't
Yeah,
we?
we
Yeah.
got something out of it. Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know how long I've been doing this because I don't I haven't thought about like, oh, how long have I been doing this podcast? And it's over 4 years now. And
Yeah.
yeah, someone said to me, "Oh man, you're so committed to it." But this is a devotional practice to me because I just want to do it,
You're
and
just nice.
it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's just feeds me, and
Yeah.
who knows
Uh,
where it will take me in the future. I have no idea. But anyway, you're
yes.
you know
Thank you, brother. I
yeah,
love it every
thank
single
you.
time, man.
Yeah,
It's so
likewise.
much fun.
We're gonna do it again.
All right, bud.